I am Perry. Welcome to Living Your Best Life with Eddie Stone, founder and CEO of Touchstone Essential. Hello, Eddie.
Hi, Perry. How are you this evening?
I'm good. And you?
I'm doing fantastic, doing some travel, talking to you today from Dana Point, California. So
Uh-huh.
normally I'm on the East Coast where I live in North Carolina, but today out in California.
Uh-huh. That's good. How's the weather there?
It is beautiful. When I left my home, it was about 35, 40 degrees Fahrenheit,
Uh-huh.
and it had been a sort of a rainy weekend. And so when I got to California, I actually flew into San Diego yesterday. Sunshine, about 60, 65 degrees, just beautiful. And then when I looked on the weather forecast, when I fly home on Sunday, it's supposed to be snowing. So completely different and beautiful weather out here in California.
Uh-huh. So you should enjoy the time here, the weather
I
here.
am. I'm actually staying in a hotel with a beautiful view of the beach. And so before I have to go tomorrow, I'm working in Palm Beach, California. But before I head over there, I'm gonna get a cup of coffee in the morning, and I think I'm gonna go try and see the sunrise
Uh-huh.
across the ocean. So be nice.
Okay. Very good. Happy for you.
Thank you, thank you.
Uh-huh. Eddie, okay, we start, okay? I have a question from Ron Rutherford. He said, my kidneys failed. Will zeolite still work without any further damage?
Well, that's a complicated question, and the first thing I want to say is they need to make sure that they're talking with their doctor, their whomever they're working with, closely about really anything they're doing from a diet standpoint, and then also any types of supplements that they're taking. Now, in my years of working with zeolite and other detox products, so I've been working with it since probably about 2005. So that's 13 or so years. I've only ever heard of situations where both kidney function and liver function improved when a person began to use greens and use a zeolite product like ours. And so, but that's not a scientific study, right? That's just anecdotal feedback from consumers. But I know that if I had a kidney or a liver problem, I would probably utilize zeolite personally to sort of help improve my situation, but only after talking with my physician just to make sure they were comfortable with that, with whatever other protocols that they have me on, because that's a really serious issue and they just need to make sure they're doing their research.
Mhm. Yeah, but I think that, I mean, he needs to eat a lot of natural, organic fruits and vegetables. That very
You
important.
know, we talk so much about having a clean diet
Hmm.
and as little ultra processed food as possible. But someone that's dealing with that kind of organ failure, it's really important for them to really think about the cleanest diet possible. So that means things like really primarily good, clean water. They don't need to be drinking soft drinks. They probably don't need to be drinking a whole lot of juices. They really just, as much water as possible. There are some cleansing teas that would probably be supported by the physician that they're working with. But the diet itself, really no fast food. They just need to be conscious of sort of as clean a diet and sort of living environment as they can because they're dealing with such fragile issues. And of course, your kidneys and your liver, you got to have them to survive. And so you really want to take care and do everything you can for your own personal health in this situation.
Hmm. I think there are many good programs on YouTube channel to on all the knowledge out there. You can search for more information.
Yeah, there a lot of great information. I agree.
Uh-huh. Okay, the next one, Eddie. I had to stop taking the zeolite. I have Crohn's, and it makes my Crohn's flare up bad.
Wow, I've in all my years, particularly with people with Crohn's or irritable bowel or other things that are sort of that nature, I've never heard anyone say that the zeolite somehow inflamed the situation or made it more complicated. But I will say, if someone ever believes that to be the case with any of the supplements we have or any supplements they're using, they should stop immediately and
Mhm.
make sure they are talking with their healthcare professional. But I've never heard that. So I don't really know what. sort of mechanisms of action or attributes would be causing that. If they had said that they were getting some irritation when they were using greens, because of the fiber in the greens, that might be a little easier for me to understand. So I don't really know what to say in that regard because I've just never heard of a situation like that. Is there perhaps even, were there other things they were doing at the same time that may have contributed more so than the zeolite? Because the zeolite is an inert mineral that's been cleaned. And so really by no chemical processes or no mechanisms of action should that occur. But listen, their experience is their experience. And so it's the right decision to stop using the products, but they just may want to also evaluate everything they're consuming to see if it perhaps is something else that's causing that irritation or flare up.
Uh-huh. And I mean, he just sent me a message later after this one. He said he gets back to zeolite to see again, to try again how it is.
Yeah, I hope he'll go slow. For anybody that feels like they've had an adverse reaction, if they decide to use the product again, make sure they start slowly, just to make sure that they're sort of conscious of, hey, was that really what was causing the problem, or maybe it was something else.
Uh-huh. Okay, and the last one from me, Eddie. Been taking Eddie's zeolite, love it. The whites of my eyes are whiter and my eyes are bluer and 2 dark skin bumps are all gone. That's what I noticed. Probably more good stuff going on inside.
Well, I love to hear that. And so for anybody that's got a story they can share with us, we'd love to hear people's successes. That's part of what motivates us. I was involved with doing a meeting last evening and several people shared their stories. In this particular case, most of the people were really talking about our CBD oil product, our Calm product. Mm-hmm. And they were just talking about the quality of the sleep they were getting, how much faster they were falling asleep. And I have to say, it just puts a giant smile on my face because that's, part of why we do this each day, to see what happens with people.
Uh-huh. Okay. And Eddie, what are you going to bring us today?
Well, I thought I would continue on our theme where we're focused on clean diets and the role that toxicity can play in our health. And really for me, there's about 5 products that really fall into what I call this sort of miracle category. Mm-hmm. In terms of just how effective it is at helping the body with detoxification. And in this case, I'm talking about detoxification from heavy metals, which we talk about quite frequently. And that can be not just things that are in the air and the water and the soil that makes its way into fruits and vegetables, but I'm talking about what can happen when you've got a mouthful of fillings made from mercury. And so you're kind of creating a toxic situation. There's a lot of individuals that because of the work they do, they may work in a chemical facility where volatile organics are sort of just this thing they're breathing all the time. People that work in paint shops, even nail salons, beauty salons, a lot of those chemicals are filled with volatile organics that can be quite dangerous to your health. And then, also radiation. We still deal with our customers in Japan, they're still dealing with the Fukushima radiation fallout. Of course, there's other radiation. We've talked about EMFs. We've talked about electromagnetic radiation. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of things to be concerned about. And so, number one, here's what we're talking about, the things that are affected. Sort of on an acute situation, meaning sort of really noticeable. You've got chronic fatigue, and in fact, one of the people last night was talking about this sort of brain fog, and they said, it wasn't like I felt like it came on all of a sudden, but I just found this lady was sharing, in her early 40s, that she just found that she fatigued more easily at her job during the course of the day, and nothing had changed from a health standpoint or a sleep standpoint. She just almost like she was in a little bit of a fog. And she said it just happened more and more frequently. Well, I hear this term brain fog used a lot when I'm talking to people. And invariably, they share with us that once they start to clean up their diet and they use products to help them to detoxify, they deal with less of the brain fog. And, I don't know that brain fog is a medical term, but I think probably everybody listening really knows what we're talking about when we talk about brain fog. So we're talking about things like that, headaches and migraines. We've had wonderful feedback on people that have been better able to manage headaches and other issues, not just with themselves, with their children, with a clean diet, but also with our CBD oil. So, this is also really a material situation, right? Because you're just not functioning your best if you're fighting with sort of this chronic headache type situation all the way to the scale of, say, people dealing with migraines. Of course, there's autoimmune issues and skin issues. And so when we talk about what heavy metals do to the body, what radiation, volatile organics can do to the body, we're talking about affecting your brain, affecting your heart. So it's going to increase your risk of having a heart attack or a stroke. That's the number 2 killer in the U.S. Number 1 is cancer. Of course, it's going to impact your risk of cancer because these things damage your DNA. Mm-hmm. And as your DNA is damaged and it mutates, telomeres are shortened on the DNA, your vulnerability for cancer just exponentially increases. Heavy metals affect your lungs. We are talking about the person that wrote into us, the liver and the kidneys, even your bones. If your body is essentially polluted, those heavy metals such as cadmium, lead, and mercury can actually block the absorption of calcium and the processes with which your body processes calcium to make good, strong bones. And so people can see their bone density go down, which risk for osteoporosis and other issues if they're essentially polluted. And of course, hidden places it can affect the function of the thyroid. And once your thyroid gets off track, and of course, there's a lot of things from a dietary standpoint you can do to support your thyroid, but once that gets off track, weight becomes very difficult to control, all the way to issues such as hair loss and other things, right? Your thyroid's important and you want that operating at full tilt. And then just essentially digestion, of course, all kinds of sort of skin irritations and issues. And so these are critical issues. So here are the 5 things that I believe are sort of nature's miracles, we'll call them, to help out with these issues. And sort of number 1, this is sort of a subtle one, but selenium. Mm-hmm. And selenium is one of those trace minerals that people don't really think a lot about, but it plays a critical role in the chemical function of your body. And almost like zeolite, it can act as essentially a chelator of sorts. And once those bindings take place, it won't allow for those toxins to reabsorb into the body. So selenium is crucial. Selenium you can find in a lot of protein sources. Nuts, of course, are a good source of selenium, particularly if you're buying organic nuts. And if you're eating those nuts raw, you're going to get more out of there because less of it's sort of cooked out. And Brazil nuts are particularly high in selenium. So for anybody out there that's a fan of Brazil nuts, good for you. You probably have an excellent balance of selenium, which supports your body's detox. And of course, most fishes, but particularly your sort of meatier fishes such as tuna. Tuna really is quite remarkable in a lot of different trace minerals, including selenium. And you want to make sure you're buying your fish from a good, clean source. Be careful if you're buying farmed fish, farm-raised fish. Of course, not all farmed fish is bad, but some of it, the environment those fish are grown in essentially is not clean. And so they're living in concentrated amounts of their own waste. And so that's not a good idea. So just be conscious of your source of protein. Even beef, lamb, and other dark meats can be sources of selenium, but of course I'd prefer people try to get it as much as possible from plants, and then the secondary source would be fish, and then from there they can consider other protein sources. Dairy can be a good source too, but of course I'm not big on a lot of dairy. I just don't think as adults it's really great for us. And then chlorella is number 2, and you want the single-celled microalgae with a cracked wall, right? I think I've heard Kent talk about chlorella. He's a big fan. Just one of those remarkable greens that supports the detoxification function, but also has a lot of really rich micronutrients and those delicate phytochemicals that are really important for your body's ability not just to function, but detoxification, fight cancer, all these types of things. And in that same vein, number 3 for me is spirulina. And spirulina, of course, is another blue-green microalgae. It's a little different. It affects the digestive system in a different way than, say, chlorella does, but also can function to support the body in detoxification. So just to review, number 1, make sure you're getting the trace mineral selenium in your diet as much as possible, chlorella, and then spirulina. And then the fourth would be milk thistle. And milk thistle is interesting because you can get teas that have milk thistle in them. Some people even cook with milk thistle. It can be a little bit acrid when you're using it in a food or in a recipe. But milk thistle can be a little different mechanism than the selenium, different mechanism than the chlorella or the spirulina. But milk thistle, tremendous job of supporting the body and detox, and in this case, very particularly the liver. And so selenium, chlorella, spirulina, milk thistle, and then the fifth sort of natural mineral, sort of miracle in this category is zeolite. And for anybody that watches us, they know I'm a huge fan. I know you're a huge fan. It's just so unique how that natural mineral has that native negative charge and is attracted to those positively charged particulates in the body, such as the heavy metals, volatile organics. Now, here's something to keep in mind. Of course, we believe that zeolite's sort of that number one thing to do. It's sort of number one in this category of priorities to make sure you get in your body, because we have our Pure Body form, which is primarily focused on the digestion, then our Pure Body Extra, which is actually a cellular cleanse. But keep in mind that those products function on a proximity basis. And so if your schedule only allows you to say use it once a day, then that's better than not at all. But what you would prefer is if you were using 2 or 3 drops or 2 or 3 sprays 3 times a day, 4 times a day spread out, because as it circulates in the body and it comes in contact with, that ion exchange takes place and that chelation process happens, where now that bound zeolite, it's attracted to the toxins both in its surface and in its chamber. Of course, we know it can deal with, angstrom-sized particles, right? It's really phenomenal in that regard, will excrete out of your body. And so those are the 5 things, particularly as we come here towards the end of the year, right? It's the time for everybody, I hope, to be taking a little bit of an evaluation right of the past year, what they did right, what they did wrong, thinking about, okay, what do I want to improve on next year, and what are the habits I want to develop? And so I'm not just saying that the zeolite is a one-off use, right? It's a day in and day out product to help you systemically fight the battle with things like heavy metals, volatile organics, and radiations, no matter what the source happens to be, but also getting those trace minerals in your diet, being conscious of that, the greens, and of course the milk thistle. And so I thought I would just try to provide a good short education for our listeners today on 5 ways, 5 sort of natural things they can do to support their body and sort of fighting this battle that we have day in and day out. I mean, there's just no telling what all's in the sky, right? I mean, this beautiful Pacific Ocean out here in front of me, and if we check the pollution levels of that water, particularly for heavy metals, it's just a lot different than it was, say, 50 years ago, 100 years ago. So, at this point, we should try to do the things we can to, help the planet and keep things clean. But at the end of the day, we sort of have this burden of toxicity we have to fight. And so you got to have good habits, both with what you eat and what you supplement with. And so, that's what I wanted to share today. Would love to get comments from our viewers. And of course, always their questions are welcome, and happy to, help them get themselves on that best track possible for good health.
Mm-hmm. So Eddie, beside the zeolite, I think they should take the green juice too, right? To help them to detox and to get nutrients.
Well, I'm probably biased on this, right? Because it's our green juice, but I really believe a green juice is one of those incredibly convenient ways for somebody to get these greens I talked about. Now, of course, they can get it in their diet. It's just not easy. Mm-hmm. And so one serving of that green juice, right, probably take you about 2 or 3 minutes to whip it up, and you can drink it down, and you get a good supply. You'll have plenty of selenium in there because it's native to those ingredients, but you'll have the chlorella, the spirulina, the milk thistle, and I believe that should be a daily habit. And it's one of those daily habits that just supports a person's long-term health goals.
By the way, I saw your promotion now, right? There is promotion going on now.
We do. We have a great promotion where someone gets to get a free bottle of our essentials, which is kind of our signature targeted nutritional with 26 different whole food ingredients and free convenient capsules. It's a great sort of organic product to give you a variety. Almost think about it in the way you might think of a multivitamin, giving you a multi-source a set of ingredients for foods you probably don't eat on a common day basis. And so we're pretty excited about that. It lasts for, I believe it's the first 12 days of December. And so I hope everybody gets a chance to get their free bottle of essentials. And when you go onto the website, you'll quite easily see the codes, and it'll be a pop-up window. So it's an easy one to access.
Wow, it's a good chance, not good time to buy now.
Yeah, it's a good time, end of the year, heading into the winter time for most people. Yeah, so it's a good time.
Okay. Thank you very much, Eddie, for being here with us. Okay, and sharing all this good information again. And enjoy your time.
Looking forward to next week.
Okay.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.